Hi, first graders. Cohen and I were all ready to read Junie B. Jones Chapter 7 from One Man Band when all of a sudden my cat Fable decided to take Cohen's place. Look at this silly kitty sitting in the baby chair. But I figured I'd let him stay and we'd have a different special guest today. So Fable and I are going to read to you, like I said, Chapter 7. Before we get started, though, I want to talk about Chapter 6. This week's weekly reading check-in challenge is to talk about a character's motivation, okay? Now, that means you're going to pay attention to what they're doing, their actions, and you're going to think about why are they acting that way? Why are they doing those things? Now, often, the reason they're doing those things is tied to the problem. And remember, a problem is what the character wants or needs but cannot have. Now, in Chapter 6, Junie B. Jones really wants to be able to juggle for the halftime show. And she needs to tell Mr. Scary what her decision is. So, she decides that telling the truth would be the very best option. She decides to do this. Why? One, it's advice that her mom gave her. And two, she realizes that if she tells her classmates and teacher the truth about how she's trying to learn how to juggle, they might give her a little bit of grace if she doesn't get it in time for the halftime show. And so now we're on Chapter 7, which is called Fun with Me and Sheldon. Ready? At recess, Mr. Scary got the kickball team started on their practice. Then he came over to Sheldon and me and he helped us with our halftime show. First, he gave me a woodblock from the music teacher's room. Plus, also, he gave me a drumstick. If you hit this woodblock while we march, you and Sheldon will be able to stay in step, he explained. I smiled, very thrilled, because hitting stuff is right up my alley. I whacked that thing with my drumstick, then Sheldon crashed his cymbal together, and ha! That was beautiful music. After that, Mr. Scary told us to form a line behind him, and then all three of us marched around and around the playground. And guess what? My woodblock kept us in very perfect step. After a while, we marched over to a microphone. It was on a stand in the grass. This is where you're going to sing, Sheldon, Mr. Scary said. When you sing into this microphone, the whole audience will be able to hear you. Mr. Scary smiled. We won't turn it on yet, but you can still practice your song, okay? Okay, said Sheldon, real thrilled. Then he stood up straight and tall and he walked over to the microphone. Fable, don't pause it. And he started to sing. Hark, herald the angel sings. He played the cymbals while he sang. It was very lovely. Sort of. But Mr. Scary's face did not look delighted. I wonder why. Maybe make a prediction. He held up his hand. Could you hold it a second there, Sheldon, he called. Could you stop singing for a minute, please? Sheldon stopped. Mr. Scary walked over to the microphone. Okay, well, that's a very nice Christmas carol, Sheldon, he said, and you were singing it beautifully. But the trouble is, it really isn't Christmas, is it? So I'm wondering if maybe you know a different song? Sheldon thought for a minute. How about I Have a Little Dreidel, he asked. I know that one. Mr. Scary ran his fingers through his tired hair. Yes, well, that's sort of the same problem, isn't it? He said. It's not really Hanukkah either. Mr. Scary bent down next to him. Do you know any songs besides holiday songs, he asked? Or is there some other talent you have, Sheldon? Like, can you whistle maybe? Or do a magic trick? Sheldon thought some more. I can blow milk bubbles out of my nose, he said. But that mostly only happens when I'm choking. Mr. Scary started rubbing the sides of his head. He was getting another headache in there, I think. Then all of a sudden, Sheldon's whole face lighted up. Hey, wait! I just thought of another song I could sing, he said. Happy birthday, Mr. Scary. I know all the words to Happy Birthday, and that isn't even a holiday song. Our teacher stood there a second. Then he nodded his head, and he said, Happy Birthday would be just dandy. Sheldon started his performance all over again. He sang the song and played the cymbals very good. After he got done, he did a somersault. I do not know why. Then, hooray, hooray! It was finally time for me. I put down my woodblock, then I reached into my pocket and I took out my pretend lemons and I started to pretend I was juggling. Juggling for pretend is way easier than juggling for real. I skipped and twirled and danced. Mr. Scary and Sheldon clapped and clapped. I did a bow. Then I picked up my woodblock again and I hit it with my stick. And me and Sheldon marched off the field. We jumped all around and did a high five. Then Sheldon picked me up and tried to twirl me around. Only he wasn't actually strong enough, and so mostly I dragged on my toes. His face turned reddish and sweaty. He put me down and wiped his head with a sleeve. "Woo! You weigh a ton, girl," he said. I did a smile at that boy. I like that odd boy. I really, really do. And that is the end of chapter 7. And this week's journal prompt is perfect because just like in this chapter, Junie is having fun with her friend Sheldon. You get to tell me about a friend of yours and why they're so special to you, what you like to do together. I can't wait to read your journal prompts and to hear about your character's motivation. See you guys later. Bye.